About 60 to 80% of the income to private conservation is from hunting. There's two places in the world where wildlife's increasing. One is North America. They have a public model. The wildlife is owned by the government and financed by the government because they have special laws. Wherever you use a rifle or you catch a fish, you pay the government and then they add money to that and it's managed through the state. So you've got the irony that in a highly capitalist country, you've got a highly socialist conservation model. And it works because everybody in America benefits. Everyone gets deer tags, everyone can go to park for $7. And the wildlife authorities at state and federal level, and even municipal level, have spent 100 years making sure that wildlife and protected areas benefit people. So the public model works. The other place that wildlife is increasing is Southern Africa. And there we have a very private model. We recognize that the state has other priorities. And it's actually very hard for a state to manage wildlife over a whole country. So we've turned wildlife into a private good where people can benefit from it, particularly from hunting, a bit from tourism, quite a bit from meat. And because it's making more money for them from the alternative land uses, it's increasing. So there's no one size fits all. A well-funded public model works and a well-funded private model works. The perfect model is to have all uses because what we're trying to do is make wildlife more competitive than the alternative, which is cows and plows. So as soon as we ban one kind of use, we reduce the ability of wildlife to compete. And if you look at the income, the protected areas are largely funded from ecotourism, but most of them are not able to cover their costs. I think South Africa, 4 out of 20 cover their costs with ecotourism. But most of the land in Southern Africa is protected through private conservation anyway. About 60 to 80% of the income to private conservation is from hunting, particularly trophy hunting, and only 5% is from ecotourism. So this assumption that you can ban hunting and replace it with ecotourism is a false assumption. And what will result is a loss of 19 million hectares out of 20 million hectares of private conservation in South Africa will disappear if you ban hunting.
A report by Lion researcher Dr. Peter Lindsay et al. In 2006 estimated the total area of sub-Saharan Africa devoted to safari hunting to be at least 1.4 million square kilometres. By contrast, England's total land area is 130,000 square kilometres. The animal rights groups, many of which are based in England, are determined to shut down safari hunting, but have offered no viable conservation alternative. Celebrities and politicians from across the world have been co-opted to take up their cause.
We have heard claims that trophy hunting benefits conservation, but simply pulling a trigger I don't think equals conservation. If trophy hunting can actually lead to positive conservation outcomes, we need to qualify what those outcomes are, including the political and scientific frameworks that make the conservation successful. That's the core of the Cecil Act.
The threats to Africa's biodiversity are a clear and present danger if the principles of sustainable use conservation are defeated. If this were to happen, large populations of wildlife across the continent would disappear to the spear, snare, and rifle. Critical habitat would be lost forever. Rural African livelihoods that are dependent on sustainable use would be shattered. The Eden illusion was conceived by the Western media and glorified by animal rights activists. Neither has any skin in the game. The deception makes for profitable nature documentaries and cute animated films with animal characters that rule the savannah. Most importantly, it is a lucrative cash cow used to entrap unsuspecting donors. By perpetuating the myth, these forces are playing God with Africa's people and wildlife. The real tragedy is that the voice of reason is being smothered amidst the ever-increasing noise, and no one will be held accountable for the resulting calamity.